Chileans began to whoop and whistle, and one of them nudged Wyatt, but the woman didn't interest Wyatt. He was watching the Steel Guard van, memorising all he could. When he hit next Thursday, he wanted it to go like clockwork. Steel Guard had got slack. That was clear. They were based in Goida, a rural city 70 kilometres away, and in all the years they'd been servicing the banks, there had never been an incident to sharpen them. The van was a small, short wheelbase Isuzu with external rear door hinges and ordinary locks. But the van wasn't important. Wyatt wasn't interested in the van, only in the slack security. First, there were no cops keeping an eye on things. Sometimes a patrol car from Goida showed at pub closing time, but only for 30 minutes, and usually on the weekend. There was no guarantee that cops wouldn't show next Thursday, but they hadn't come for today's delivery, and Leah had never seen them come, so Wyatt was betting they wouldn't show. Second, the camp was almost deserted. The only people populating the wasteland of concrete pipes, fuel drums, earth-moving equipment, and temporary buildings were Leah's girls and a handful of clerks and mechanics. Everything would change at 2:30, when the crews came in to clean up and collect their pay packets, but Wyatt intended to be 100 kilometres away by that time next Thursday. Third, the guards looked easy. Only 2 men, and they lacked that edge Wyatt had seen on his other hits. He noticed other lapses. Instead of one man unloading while the other stood guard, both unloaded, and Brava hadn't assigned anyone to help them. Then, as Wyatt watched, the guards shut the van, lit cigarettes, and strolled across to the canteen. They'd have lunch and come back to supervise while the pay packets were made up, but right now the money was in the care of just one man, the pay clerk. Wyatt would have hit then and there if he'd had a gun, a partner, and a fast car. 2. The setup was exactly as Leah had described it. Wyatt had turned up on her doorstep 6 weeks earlier, on the run from a Melbourne job that had gone sour. His cover had been blown. He was wanted for murder. He'd had to leave the state. A few addresses and a wad of cash were all he had in the world. Her home in the Adelaide Hills had been in darkness the night he arrived. He prowled around it warily, looking at the doors and windows. The ground floor curtains were drawn, but there was a window open in one of the 2 upper-level rooms that had been built into the steeply pitched roof. He knocked and waited. No lights came on, but after a while, he'd sensed that she was behind the door. "Leah," he said softly. Her voice came low and hard. "Yeah?" "Wyatt." She had opened the door, noted his hunted look and his paleness, and stood aside to let him in. She didn't say anything, not even as he took out his .38 and prowled with it through her house. It was something he had to do, an instinctive thing, so she waited until he was finished. "How long this time?" she said. "Not long. A week. 2 weeks. It's been 5 years, Wyatt." He nodded. He had no use for this, then realised a beat too late that it was mostly a joke. He smiled at her briefly, a sharkish twist of the mouth. "Are you broke?" she said. "Not entirely." She nodded. "You're on the run," she said. "This isn't a job." Wyatt watched her for a moment. She'd been sleeping and was wearing a thigh-length black t-shirt. She had black hair, cropped short so that it was spiked. She was small and compact-looking, and he remembered her round brown belly and how quick and elastic she could be. He felt calm and safe now. He put the gun away and placed his hands on her upper arms. Instantly, her ironical expression disappeared. She closed her eyes and breathed out. She opened them again. "Well, come on," she said, almost irritably. It was the next morning when they were in bed, which was a mess, that she told him about the Belcowie payroll. "Godforsaken little place," she said, "in the middle of nowhere. Nothing ever happens there, except one day the government decides to put a gas pipeline through, and the locals wake up to find 150 randy construction workers living on their doorstep." "That's where you come in," Wyatt said. "Exactly. $1,500.